Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first Bitcoin miner CleanSpark beats Microsoft to a 100 megawatt data center deal, pivoting its infrastructure to power the AI boom. We'll explore how their modular construction and power grid expertise could transform how AI infrastructure is deployed and financed. Second, Wikipedia's founder slams Elon Musk's Grokipedia, citing AI's massive cost and vulnerability to hallucinations and social media bias. We'll analyse why this clash represents a turning point for knowledge creation and how it affects the debate over AI versus human-curated truth. Third, Amazon's $11 billion Nvidia-free AI campus for Anthropic faces a challenge, as the AI firm also signs a massive deal with Google. In this episode, we'll break down this multi-chip strategy and what it signals for the competitive dynamics between cloud giants and AI labs. Fourth, Eli Lilly and Nvidia partner to build a drug industry supercomputer, aiming to slash discovery timelines with on-premise AI. Today, we'll take a closer look at their federated learning model and its implications for collaborative R&D and intellectual property in biotech. Fifth, Character.ai bans teens after lawsuits reveal dangerous interactions, signaling a major liability shift for the AI chatbot industry. So we'll discuss why this move matters for AI safety and what it means for the future of platform liability and regulation. A company with a market cap under $6 billion just went head-to-head with Microsoft, a $4 trillion giant, for a massive data center deal, and won. The winner wasn't a rival tech titan, it was a Bitcoin miner named CleanSpark. And the reason they beat Microsoft for a 100 megawatt site in Wyoming wasn't a stronger balance sheet. According to their CEO, it was all about speed. CleanSpark can deploy a massive power facility in just 6 months, while a traditional AI data center can take 3 to 6 years. So how is that even possible? It comes down to a fundamental difference in construction. Traditional data centers are often stick-built on-site, a process that can take years. CleanSpark, on the other hand, is using a modular approach. This means they build standardized prefabricated components off-site in a factory and then just transport and assemble them on location. It's like building with high-tech Lego bricks. This method slashes construction time from years down to just a few months, giving them an incredible speed advantage. And in the AI gold rush, getting to market first is everything. This isn't just about one deal. It's a sign of a massive power shift in the tech world. The AI boom has giants like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft in a desperate race for energy. They're spending a staggering 60% of their free cash flow on building out infrastructure, but they're hitting a wall. According to CleanSpark's CEO, the bottleneck is access to power. And that's where Bitcoin miners have an ace up their sleeve. The CEO states that miners already own what's hardest to get, land substations and direct access to electricity. They are now pivoting, using their expertise to build out power infrastructure rapidly and then offering that capacity to the energy-starved AI industry. This isn't just a one-off move by CleanSpark, it's a major industry trend. Another huge mining company, Core Scientific, recently signed a deal worth over $100 million to provide infrastructure for AI workloads. Actually, for the entire crypto mining industry, this pivot is becoming a survival strategy. This pivot is perfectly timed as recent changes in the crypto market have tightened mining profitability. And it's not just about building fast, it's about building differently. The high-powered chips used for AI generate an incredible amount of heat, far more than most Bitcoin mining hardware. Traditional air cooling just can't keep up. To make this pivot work, CleanSpark partnered with a company called Submer to use liquid cooling. This technology, where components are submerged in a special fluid, can handle way more heat and uses over 60% less energy than air conditioning. It's a critical and expensive piece of technology that enables this whole strategy. Believe it or not, the miners aren't just flipping a switch, they're re-engineering their entire operation for the AI era. As a result, CleanSpark's stock has already gained over 100% this year. But the strategy has one more unexpected twist. Unlike AI data centers, which require constant, unwavering uptime, Bitcoin mining operations can be flexible. During grid emergencies, CleanSpark can power down its rigs and push electricity back to the community. When a hurricane damaged a substation in Georgia, they did just that. helping restore power to a local hospital within an hour. This flexibility is called interruptible load or demand response. And here's the clever part. Because miners can power down their machines almost instantly without major consequences, they can sign contracts with utility companies. When the grid is stressed, the utility pays them to cut their power use. This helps prevent blackouts and stabilizes the entire system. In Texas, for example, miners were paid millions of dollars to power down during a heat wave, effectively acting like a giant on-demand battery for the state. This creates a whole new revenue stream for the miners and makes them a valuable partner for the community, not just a drain on its power. In the race for AI dominance, the winners might not just be the biggest players, but the ones who know how to share the power. So while Bitcoin miners are busy rewiring the physical infrastructure for another battle is brewing over its knowledge infrastructure. The founder of Wikipedia just went on the record about Elon Musk's new AI encyclopedia, Grokipedia. His verdict? I'm not optimistic he will create anything very useful right now. This comes as a direct response to Musk's allegations that Wikipedia has a woke bias. Wikipedia founder Jimmy Wales fired back, stating he is mistaken about that. His complaints about Wiki are that we focus on mainstream sources, and I am completely unapologetic about that. We don't treat random crackpots the same as the New England Journal of Medicine. He then added, we are so radical, we quote the New York Times. The conflict here is a battle over the very definition of truth. Wikipedia's model relies on human editors who follow strict policies, debating and reaching a consensus on what constitutes a mainstream or reputable source. It's a slow, deliberate human process. In contrast, an AI like Grok determines source credibility algorithmically by analyzing patterns in its massive training data. The problem is, if that data has existing biases, the AI will learn and amplify them. It can't truly understand the nuance between a peer-reviewed journal and a popular blog. It just sees patterns. The question is, can an AI ever be truly neutral, or will it always just be a mirror reflecting the biases of its creators and the data it was fed? But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point in Wales's argument isn't about bias, but the core technology itself. He says the large language models, or LMS, that power Grokipedia are fundamentally flawed. He highlights that Wikipedia's entire annual technology cost is about $175 million. Contrast that with Wall Street estimates that big tech companies are on track to spend a staggering $550 billion on AI. Next year alone, the sheer scale of that spending difference over 3,000 times highlights two completely different philosophies for finding truth. Wikipedia's non-profit, community-driven model is built on human collaboration and trust. It's slow, but it's cheap and transparent. The big tech approach is a capital-intensive arms race, betting that brute force can automate knowledge creation. But it raises a huge question. Is this incredibly expensive AI model really optimized for finding truth, or is it designed for something else entirely, like speed and user engagement, regardless of accuracy? Despite that massive spending, Wales is convinced the AI is not ready. He says the LLMs he is using to write it are going to make massive errors, adding we know ChatGPT and all the other LLMs are not good enough to write wiki entries. He shared a real-world example where a contributor used ChatGPT to find book citations only to discover the AI just very happily makes up books for you. According to Wales, anytime you ask an LLM to dig deep, it's a mess. This problem of AS making things up is so well known in the industry. It has a name, hallucination. Now, get this. It's the single biggest bottleneck to creating a reliable AI encyclopedia. To solve this, companies are scrambling to build complex fact-checking layers. Some are using a technique called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. Essentially, before the AI answers, it first performs a real-time web search to find relevant, verifiable sources. It then uses those sources to ground its answer in reality, providing citations so you can check its work. It's an attempt to bolt a verification engine onto a system that is, at its core, just a very sophisticated pattern matcher, not a truth seeker. The central power struggle here is between human-curated knowledge and AI generated information. While Wales says Wikipedia should never be Wokepedia, he delivered one final devastating critique of the technology's source material. He said, just imagine an AI solely trained on Twitter. That would be a mad, angry AI trained on nonsense. And this isn't just a funny line. Training an AI on the real-time data fire hose from X, formerly Twitter, introduces very specific and dangerous new forms of bias. Think about what gets the most engagement on social media. Outrage, arguments, and hot takes. And trained on this could develop an outrage bias, learning that inflammatory content is more important than factual content. It could also develop a recency bias, believing that whatever is trending Times right now, Times is the most true, regardless of historical context. Without incredibly sophisticated filters to separate the signal from the nonsense, you risk creating an AI that doesn't just reflect human knowledge, but human chaos. Speaking of big tech's massive spending, the competition between cloud giants is heating up in a very specific way. Amazon just switched on an $11 billion AI supercomputer, and the most shocking part isn't the price tag. It's that inside one of the largest AI data centers in the world, the market-leading chips from Nvidia are, quote, nowhere to be found. A while back, we analyzed how Anthropic was deliberately mixing hardware AWS Trainium, Google TPUs, and Nvidia GPUs to arbitrage price and performance. The latest development is that Amazon has now lit up a purpose-built campus where Nvidia is absent by design. This is Project Rainier. Just a year ago, it was 1,200 acres of Indiana farmland. Now it's a sprawling campus of data centers already online and running. The CEO of Amazon Web Services described it as going from cornfields to data centers almost overnight. This rapid construction isn't just impressive, it's a new competitive advantage. When we place Amazon's legendary logistics expertise alongside rivals who have reportedly resorted to using temporary tent structures, the strategic edge becomes clear. As the race to lock down a gigawatt of compute continues, the ability to build faster is becoming the new decisive weapon. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer to this story. Transforming cornfields into data centers has a massive local impact. These facilities are incredibly power hungry. Research shows that data centers could consume up to 9% of all US electricity by 2030. This puts an enormous strain on local power grids, and in some regions, residential power bills are expected to rise by up to 20% just to cope with the demand. We're talking about a new wave of industrialization in rural America, and it comes with serious consequences. When we covered Google's pledge to bring over a gigawatt of AI compute online, we flagged exactly this grid squeeze. Rainier makes that macro pressure painfully local. The whole complex was built for one purpose, to power the AI startup Anthropic, using 500,000 of Amazon's own custom-built Trainium chips. And remember, as we've said before, Anthropic keeps its options open. Rainier is Amazon's case to win more of the workload with raw capacity. So why would Amazon spend billions to build its own chips instead of just buying from the market leader, Nvidia? This is a massive gamble on custom silicon. Amazon's new Trainium 2 chip is designed to deliver 4 times the training performance and be twice as energy efficient as its predecessor. As we've discussed before, Trainium's pitch has been up to 50% cost savings for training. Trainium 2 is Amazon's attempt to extend that edge. The goal is to create a powerful, cost-effective alternative to Nvidia's expensive and often supply-constrained GPUs. This is Amazon trying to control its own destiny by building the entire AI stack from the chip up. This looked like Amazon's checkmate move in the AI wars, securing a key partner with a dedicated state-of-the-art facility. But this is where the situation takes a more complex turn. Just as this exclusive partnership goes live, Anthropic announced a new multi-billion-dollar deal with Amazon's direct competitor, Google. The deal gives Anthropic access to up to 1 million of Google's custom tensor processing units. This isn't a small side project. It's a deal worth tens of billions of dollars. We told you about this bombshell a while back. What's new is the timing. It's landing right as Rainier goes live. This reveals a fascinating new dynamic in the tech world, the frenemy paradox. Anthropic isn't being disloyal. It's being strategic. This is called a multi-cloud or multi-chip strategy, and it's the same hardware arbitrage playbook we walked through before. AI companies have realized that to avoid being locked in with one provider and to get the best performance, they need to use the specialized hardware from multiple giants. They use Amazon's Trainium for some tasks and Google's TPUs for others, giving them immense negotiating leverage and technical resilience. We've already seen that resilience pay off during a major AWS outage. The power no longer sits just with the company providing the money and infrastructure, but also with the AI lab that has the model everyone wants. This reveals the brutal reality of the AI gold rush. As we noted a while back, Anthropic's annual revenue run rate is nearing $7 billion, and its new coding assistant generated $500 million in revenue in its first 2 months alone. Today's update is that demand is so intense, it needs a multi-chip strategy to keep up, hence Amazon's Trainium campus on one side and Google's million TPU access on the other. And as we discussed in our governance segment, scaling compute this fast makes their trust and safety layer as strategic as the chips themselves. The AI arms race has entered a new chaotic phase. An $11 billion custom-built data center is no longer enough to guarantee a partner's loyalty. In the frantic search for computing power, even the closest allies are hedging their bets, forcing tech giants into a multi-front war where your biggest partner is also working directly with your biggest rival. In other words, the enemy of my enemy co-opetition we talked about is now poured in concrete and measured in megawatts, and it's a direct counterweight to the Microsoft OpenAI axis. We've been talking about custom silicon for cloud giants, but now that same technology is creating a bombshell partnership in a totally different field. Pharmaceuticals. Get this, a pharma giant and a tech titan are joining forces to build what they're calling the single most powerful supercomputer in the entire drug industry. This is a major announcement from Eli Lilly and chipmaker Nvidia. They're creating an AI factory to completely upend how we discover new medicines. The current process is a brutal marathon. On average, it takes about 10 years to get a new drug from the first human dose to market launch. This new supercomputer is designed to crush that timeline. So in our cloud-dominated world, why would Eli Lilly make such a massive capital-intensive bet on building its own supercomputer? It all comes down to control and security. For pharmaceutical research, data is everything. By building this on-premise, Lilly keeps its most sensitive secrets under its own roof, ensuring compliance with strict data sovereignty laws. It also gives them predictable long-term costs and the ability to fine-tune the machine's performance specifically for drug discovery. So what kind of power are we talking about? The machine, which goes online in January, will be running on over 1,000 of Nvidia's brand new Blackwell Ultra GPUs. Eli Lilly's chief AI officer describes it perfectly, calling it a novel scientific instrument like an enormous microscope for biologists. And what will this digital microscope be looking at? It's being trained on a treasure trove of Eli Lilly's private research data, valued at a staggering $1 billion. An executive was direct about the goal. We're hopeful that we'll be able to discover new molecules that we never would have with humans alone. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. This move signals a huge shift in the entire pharmaceutical business model. Instead of just selling drugs, Eli Lilly is positioning itself to become a platform, licensing its powerful AI tools to other companies. This creates a powerful ecosystem where Lilly sits right at the center of innovation. They're opening up their AI models through a platform called TuneLab. This gives smaller biotech startups access to tools that could normally take them years and millions in capital to develop. In exchange, those companies contribute back their own research, making the central AI even smarter, all without directly sharing proprietary data. The technology that makes this possible is called federated learning, and it's quite ingenious. Instead of the startup sending their secret data to Lilly's central computer, Lilly sends its AI model to the startups. The model learns from their data locally on their own systems, and then only the learnings, the model improvements are sent back. The raw data never leaves. This approach allows for collaboration while preserving privacy, but it's not without risk. Experts are watching closely to see how robust this is for protecting intellectual property, as there are concerns that sophisticated attacks could potentially reverse engineer insights or even poison the model. While the full benefits might not be seen until 2030, the end game is a complete revolution. As Nvidia's Vice President of Healthcare stated, this is about finally delivering on the promise of precision medicine, tailoring treatments to a person's individual genes and lifestyle. Delivering on that promise, however, means getting these AI-discovered drugs approved by regulators like the FDA, and that's a huge new hurdle. How does the FDA approve a drug discovered by a complex black box AI that even its creators might not fully understand? The FDA is already working on this, issuing draft guidance for a risk-based framework. For high-risk AI models, companies will need to provide deep documentation on the AI's architecture, data, and validation to prove the drug is safe. This is a critical step to balance innovation with public health. And her final point is the real kicker. Without an AI infrastructure and foundation, we'll never get there. This isn't just a partnership. It's the essential groundwork for the next generation of medicine. From the high-stakes regulation of drug discovery, we now shift to the messy, real-world liability of AI chatbots, where a major platform is taking drastic action. A popular site, Character.ai, just banned millions of teenagers from talking to its virtual characters. The platform is facing multiple lawsuits from parents, with some branding it a clear and present danger to young people. A few episodes back, we talked about the liability vacuum closing as cases moved into courtrooms. This is that same arc, now landing squarely on Character.ai. What's counterintuitive, though, is that this ban might create an even bigger problem. Experts call this the Hydra effect in AI safety. When you cut off one head, two more might grow in its place. By admitting it can't guarantee safety, a mainstream platform like Character.ai could be unintentionally pushing curious teens toward more dangerous, unregulated, and open source AI chatbot alternatives that are much harder to monitor. This could accelerate a world where teens in some regions get lockdown experiences while others drift to unregulated clones. The ban follows intense criticism over the kinds of interactions young people were having, and some of the details are genuinely disturbing. Investigators discovered chatbots on the site impersonating British teenagers Brianna Gay, who was murdered, and Molly Russell, who took her own life. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism found a chatbot based on the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, which had logged more than 3,000 chats. The report stated the bestie Epstein avatar continued to flirt with a reporter after they said they were a child. And this isn't just about content slipping through the cracks. As one social media expert told BBC News, the real issue is something more fundamental. This isn't about content slips. It's about how AI bots mimic real relationships and blur the lines for young users. That dual-use tension is exactly what basic filters struggle to contain. And that gets to the heart of the issue. We're seeing something called a parasocial relationship, but with AI, it's on an entirely different level. Unlike a character in a book, these AI companions engage in dynamic, personalized conversations, creating a powerful illusion of mutual understanding. Research from Stanford University found that 90% of users found their AI companion to be human-like. That number helps explain how we got to a point where 1 in 5 students report knowing someone who had a romantic relationship with an AI. For a developing teenage brain-seeking connection, this is incredibly potent and can lead to intense emotional dependency. The expert points out that when a platform built for teens suddenly pulls the plug, it's an admission that simple filters are not enough. After all, these AI are often designed to be sycophantic, meaning they always agree with the user. This can create unrealistic expectations for real-world relationships, where disagreement and conflict are normal and necessary for growth. That instant validation can feel great in the moment, but risks stunting real conflict resolution skills. In response, Character.ai says it's now focusing on far safer guided content generation for teens and will fund a new AI safety research lab. This strategy is what the industry calls creating a walled garden. Think of it like YouTube Kids. The idea is to pivot from open-ended chat to more structured, game-like experiences. But the big question is whether this can actually keep teens engaged or if they'll just leave for more open platforms. And this all hinges on new age verification methods, which are notoriously difficult to get right without creating major privacy risks for young users. Age checks don't just create safety, they create an identity economy. This move is being called a wake-up call for the entire AI industry. It signals a major shift from an era of permissionless innovation to an era of post-crisis regulation, as the true risks of AI's emotional manipulation come into focus. The ship fast, adapt later doctrine is now being tested by lawsuits and regulator pressure. It's forcing a legal and ethical reckoning. For years, tech companies have hidden behind a neutral tool defense, similar to Section 230 protections for social media, This crisis is challenging that idea, suggesting that AI companies may indeed be held liable for the content their systems generate, setting a massive precedent for the future of artificial intelligence and potentially deepening the global split in what's allowed, depending on where you live.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.